some of the idea of the art and how the art is presented is to don't think about all that stuff right away. Right? I mean, yes, I'm motivated by the big questions in this crisis, but I want you to enjoy the ice because it's pretty cool, right? And so, what I've discovered is that there's an engagement, and people have, like Holly, have, validated and pointed out, and reminded me, oh yeah, look at how the children interact with this stuff. Look at the sense of wonder. All the boys want to just drop, that's exactly what homeboys do, right? So the art, in a sense, is not just about communicating something, it also is about engagement, right? It's got to be something, right now, most of the art about an activism is so we've got to change and get people, you don't want to engage it, really, right? It still has to be engaging. So, that's something, but I've discovered that by doing it. It wasn't necessarily the idea. But, now let's get back to the problem. Because there's still, now we've got that, now we have to stretch this idea of the engagement with okay, but the activism and the effort's really still important, right? So I had a joke when I was at URG about my primary thesis, okay? So I'm going to introduce you to that now. I'm going to introduce it to you by showing you this graph, which is, again, if you've seen An Inconvenient Truth, you've seen this graph before, right? This is ice core data from Antarctica, okay? And it shows the last half a million years or so. Okay, so every 200,000 years or so, we seem to have these ice ages. So this is CO2 going up and down, and then this is the temperature going up and down with it, right? And we are right now in this kind of interglacial period where it's warmer versus these are ice ages, right? So that's for the last 500 million years. And those cycles are because of variations in big, longer cycles of the Earth's orbit kind of expands and contracts, and the tilt of the Earth kind of does this, and just like any other top, it precesses. And so when those things conspire that you get warm winters and cold summers in the northern hemisphere, we get ice sheets. From the northern hemisphere, we get ice ages. Okay? So where are we today? Well, here was where we were 10 years ago. Okay? And given current trends, we're going here. Now, when Al Gore does this in An Inconvenient Truth, right? Remember, he gets in the lift, and he goes, okay, that was the exact moment that big ice block fell over. You couldn't tell the clunk it made, whether it was from the movie or on the stage. Perfect timing. That's art. Okay, but now to give you more perspective, that's when I was born. So we were already on this when I was born, and certainly when you were born, right? This is when a college student was born, so about when you were born. This is where it was this is an older slide, so my daughter's now 12, so this is when my 5-year-old daughter was born. But also consider, well, let me go back to that for a second first. Okay, so this graph, should give you, some pause. Right? This is pretty clearly Houston. You have a problem. Right? And before I get back to that, I'm just going to interject a slide. I want you also to consider that, that data comes from an ice core that was 2 miles deep through 2 million-year-old ice in the middle of Antarctica. I mean, just what I think is cool about that graph is that there's somewhere on the planet there's ice that's 2 million years old. That's older than the species, right? And that all that coal and oil were just evaporating into the air. Right? So, sure, this is sort of like for the skeptics, CO2 levels go up and down. They've been higher than they were today, but they haven't been higher than this in 20 billion years. And back then, there were crocodiles in Greenland, and there was a pine forest on Antarctica. Okay? And they weren't exactly those positions on the planet, so this comes. So what's my primary thesis? Can you guess? It's a joke. Right? This was my primary. Every once in a while, some like funny, like something would come up, some particularly bad news, and I would go, "No, that just proves my primary thesis." And I would go, "Carter, what's that?" It's like, "Oh, we're screwed." Okay. Right. But the laughter is important, right? Why?
Engagement.
Well, engagement, humor. You need to engage us with humor. Why is humor important? What's true about a joke? It's true, right? That's what makes it funny. So, why do we avoid this? The typical reaction is panic, right? That's pretty much the state people who start paying attention to this are in, right? We're all running around like we got to do something. We got to get everyone to care. We got to get on way. There's also depression. I got depressed. There's denial, and there's denial on both sides. There's denial on our political spectrum. There's denial on the right, which is that it doesn't exist, which is completely natural, given the circumstances. And there's denial on the other side, which is like, oh, we got the answer. Right? A little, Not to say that some of the answers we have aren't also important. Anger, bargaining, if we just do this, we'll be able to keep it at 2 degrees, right? All of these are the natural things. The Earth that we thought we knew doesn't exist anymore. It's as dead as if your mom or your puppy died. Okay? You go through all of the same emotions when you realize this. The world that you thought you understood, you don't understand anymore. This is the thing that happens. So, from my point of view, if we're really going to engage something as big as climate change, we have to kind of engage these big questions, right? And that's again where something like art comes in.